from the studio in the bonus room above the garage on the north side of Fort Mill, in South Carolina, the shadow of Charlotte, the foot of Mount Belzoni. This is the York County Democratic Party podcast, our YouTube show, YCDP TV. And this is episode 5. Going to call this State Party Leadership Candidates. Okay, I'm Gary Pierce. Next Saturday, April 29th, is the South Carolina Democratic Party State Convention down in Columbia. Among other things, many other things I'm sure, the party is going to elect its leadership. So the convention is open to the public, but only delegates will get to vote on those leadership positions. And if you're a delegate, you know who you are. Still, it might be valuable for everyone to hear a little bit from these candidates. Normally, you're not going to hear much from them after that. Today is Saturday, April 22nd. Today was the York County Democratic Party's Executive Committee meeting. That meeting is held on Zoom. It's open to anyone who wants to participate in the party. It's normally not broadcast as part of our YouTube podcast because it's got some sensitive stuff in it now and then. But I asked our chair, John Kraljevich, if I could make a podcast out of some of this meeting's content. And he said yes, especially the candidates' pitches. Not all the candidates were available. So we're going to take a peek at the party's website for the convention with a list of all the candidates. So there are the candidates for chair of the party. And the candidates for first vice chair. And note up at the top there the rules for promoting diversity for our party leadership. First vice chair must be a different gender from the chair. And the candidates for second vice chair, and those candidates must be of a different race from the chair. I'm pretty sure that that's too woke for Ron DeSantis. He's not going to approve. And the candidates for third vice chair, and those candidates must be 36 years or younger. So that position is designed to appeal to young people, and the person filling that is designed to appeal to young people. And now let's drop in on our executive committee meeting for a couple of minutes and see what goes on and meet some of those candidates.
Welcome to York County in a digital sort of way. And we'll wait for some folks to file in here and populate. We'll give it just a couple of minutes. So thanks to everyone who was here on time. Everybody must be in their pajamas this morning. I've never seen so many people with their cameras off. It's all right. We're all friends.
We probably are.
It's okay. Yeah, it's all right. If you're there with curlers in your hair and coffee in your hand, you're still welcome here. We're all Democrats.
Well, I can see that John Holder has a full beard now, and I've shaved mine. So we've switched places.
He's going for the full monk approach here. He's heading into his Thomas Merton stage. I like it.
Yeah, this was my COVID project last summer. I was locked in the house for a week and didn't bother to shave. And what'll it look like if I grow it out? So here it is.
It looks good.
Thank you.
We'll get going. Good morning. I'm John Kraljevich. I am your chair. At least I am for another 11 months or so. Not that I'm counting. And I wish you all good morning and welcome to this executive committee meeting. The executive committee is composed of the executive committee person from each of the York County precincts that are organized in addition to the YCDP board. So that is the voting body of the York County Democratic Party Executive Committee. However, this meeting is open to everybody. All are welcome. Feel free to share the link with friends or curious onlookers or whatever else. Everyone's welcome here. In terms of the run of show today, the very first course of business is to approve our slate of alternate delegates. They're delegates to the SCDP Convention were decided last year at our county convention. We get 93 slots. We are one of the bigger counties in South Carolina, so we get a large number of delegates, and those delegates were chosen from among those who attended county convention last year. However, things happen, people move. People can't attend. I know there's a Taylor Swift concert in Atlanta next weekend, which has stolen a few of our delegates from us. And I get it. I understand. I'm married to a Swiftie.
I have to give an exam on Saturday.
And that's an appropriate excuse. That's okay. So for folks that can't attend, we have a slate of alternates. We also get 93 alternates. We have not used all of our alternates. And let me share my screen here right quick. So here is the list of folks who gave us their name and the information we needed by our deadline. Each county is allowed to set their own deadline for addition of alternates as long as it's in advance of the state party's deadline. These are the folks that got their names to us by midnight this past Sunday. I won't run down the names. You can see them all there. You'll see some familiar names, folks that have been with us for years, volunteering for years, active for years, past candidates, current elected officials, and then some new names too, which is great. So I'd like to hear a motion to approve this slate of alternate delegates, as these folks did everything we asked of them to do by the deadline. I see a motion from Dr. Holder. Do I have a second? You might have to.
Jim will second.
I've got a second from Jim Thompson. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, good. We will gavel that down and approve our list of alternate delegates. I am grateful for folks to step up and make the trip to Columbia. In terms of some quick convention housekeeping, the process, the SCDP Convention will be next Saturday. It begins at 9:30 at the State Fairgrounds in Columbia. So do not go to the convention center. You will not find any convention going on there. I know it's been there in the past, but don't go there. Although I'm sure if you go there, there will be other poor misled souls there as well. But yeah, we're doing it at the fairgrounds. All the information is in various emails that have come from Jay Parmley. We have to get everybody signed in and credentialed before 9:30. I will be there by about 7 to open our booth and get signed up. Jim Thompson has already volunteered to help me in the sign-in booth. If anyone else would like to get there early and help with sign-ins, we need to have 2 people there at all times. I'll buy you a cup of coffee if you show up early. So please come on down and help us out. If you are planning to attend the convention, either as a delegate or an alternate or a guest, you must be there by 9:30, because that's the point where I start picking names off the alternate list and substituting them in and making them voting delegates. So 9:30 is the cutoff. If you get there at 9:33 and you're a delegate, you're not going to be a delegate. So that's a hard and fast deadline. And I understand Democrats sometimes run a little bit late. Try to run early. And a reminder that the State Fairgrounds is a little further from us than the convention center. Are there any questions about the convention, about the process, or people who may want to attend that haven't really thought much about it yet? Go ahead and unmute yourself if you have a question.
I have a question as far as it pertains to bringing guests to the convention. How does that go?
So I think it's open to guests. I mean, this is a public convention. There is an identification and credentialing process for guests. I don't know exactly what it is, but I think it's pretty much wide open and anybody can come and sit in on the proceedings. This is not, some kind of private conclave or something. So bring them along, and I'm sure there will be signage and state party folks there to help, get them signed in and get them a name tag and get them seated where is appropriate.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Let's hear from some candidates. I think that's why everybody's here, including the candidates. Let's start with chair candidates. I only see one of the 3 chair candidates here. So Christale Spain, the floor is yours. Glad you could join us.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank y'all, York County, for inviting us to get to speak to your delegates one last time before we get to election day, as I feel like I've been running a real campaign to get to election day. I'm no longer calling it the convention. But anyway, my name is Christale Spain, and I'm running for chair of the South Carolina Democratic Party. For those of you who don't know me, I have a long history with the party. I came to the party over 12 years ago to volunteer. Had no idea this would become a job. Absolutely no idea that it would become a career. I definitely did not know that the party was a place when I showed up, because I was coming to volunteer for Obama. And all the people that I met across the state, I've always just been so just excited by the fact that folks are so fully committed to doing this work across the state. But I'm running for chair. I'm one of the most experienced candidates on the that you'll have on your ballot. I've worked my way from volunteer all the way to executive director. I've led presidential campaigns across the state. I've worked in Congressman Clyburn's legislative office here in Columbia. And I've also, I work nationally at the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, which is the affectionately known as the DCCC, and it's the political arm for the U.S. House of Representatives. And we fight every cycle to keep our members elected and to elect new members. And this past cycle, the 2022 cycle, that was supposed to be the red wave, the work that we did stopped that red wave. And I'm really ready to bring the knowledge and the skill sets that I have gained over the last 12 years back to the Democratic Party, as not as a staff person, but as a leader, as a person who has a vision to help get Democrats elected up and down the ballot. And I need your help to do that. I need you to come to Columbia on April 29th and stand with me or whatever we decide to do and vote for me to be your next state party chairwoman. I love this party. I'm running to keep this party unified because I know we are stronger together. We will rise and fall together, right? We can get this done. I will never overpromise or overinflate what I'm going to do. I am who I say I am. I have done what I said I've done. And that is, you can see that by all the diverse support that I have across the state. These folks are supporting me because they know me, they work with me, and they're ready to move our party forward. So I know we've got other candidates, so I won't belabor, but thank y'all so much. Come to Columbia. Stand with Christale. I definitely won't let you down. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Christale. Does anyone have any additional questions for Christale in specific? We'll get to general questions later, but if anybody has any questions for Christale, now's the time. All right, no questions for Christale. I see another chair candidate has joined us. This guy's always moving. He's back in the car like he was for our last meeting, so we will throw the microphone to Brandon Upson. You'll have 5 minutes and then have some questions from folks. Brandon, go ahead. Floor is yours.
All right. I guess I got in here at the right time, John.
You did.
Good morning, everybody. I am leaving Somerville and headed to St. George for a food distribution if we don't get rained out. And then after that, headed back towards the homestead. But thank you for the opportunity to speak to the body again. Everyone, we're down to the wire. I'm so proud of the race that all of us have run, myself, Christale, and Miss Margaret. We've really worked really hard. This has been one of those races where it's historic no matter what. We've never had this many African Americans run for chair at the same time. And I'm pulling over because it's raining. And then and I believe that we've set a new standard for how we run for leadership in our party. But I think that we have to take it a step further because what I want us to show is that you don't have to hate one candidate to support the other. We don't have to fight so hard that the number one hardest responsibility of the incoming chair is reuniting our party. We should be able to come out of this after the vote on Saturday and as a unified party so we can get to work. And I just want to spread that message as far as and wide as possible, because if we're going to win, if we're going to do the things that Christale and I have and Catherine have on our platform, we need a united party to do it. United we stand, divided we fall. I know I just took that from Christale's campaign slogan, but it is honestly the truth. The house divided can never stand. And I just want to give us just that word because we need it in this time more than ever. But more, in addition to that, I have hope, y'all. I've seen in this last couple of days that people are ready for change. People are ready to win. People have the courage to stand for the change that they believe in. And people are hopeful for a Democratic Party that can win elections again. I am that candidate that is ready to position us to win. How do we do that? One, I talked about the long-term strategic plan. Two, I've talked about getting back to the grassroots. But three, financially supporting and securing our party so that we can fund and strengthen our county parties all the way down to the precincts. Our precincts, 2,257 of them, are our number one asset to building capacity, engaging people, and mobilizing the vote. We have so many unorganized precincts across the state that it is ridiculous. If we can organize our precincts, and I talked to the new chair over in North Carolina, that is their number one goal. But that was their tool to get turn their purple state blue over and over and over again, to pick up seats, organizing their precincts. When I worked with Obama's organization, Organizing for America, they taught us how to go block by block, community by community. We have to get back to the basics as a party if we're going to move forward. And then the last thing I want to say before I take questions, I announced on February 4th that I wanted to run, and I announced with a full slate of candidates with Mary Geren, Melina Rodelo, and Erica Sampson running with me, because I understand where my strengths are, and I definitely understand where my weaknesses are. Working together with these women makes all of us stronger, because they have proven over and over and over again that they're willing to roll up their sleeves, get to work, and get the job done, no matter where they are in the state. Together, we've hit 38 of the 46 counties since we announced on February 4th. We're going to continue. You judge a person who you're electing based off the campaign they're running. And we have run a very strong, competitive, hardworking, transparent campaign all the way to this point. We've taken the high road at every chance, because we understand that after the vote on April 29th, we have to be able to come back together and work together. So I'm just asking us to move forward, work together, keep the end in mind, be ready to win, and please stand with me on April 29th at the state convention. I'm humbly asking for your support, and I would love to have it. Thank you so much, and I'm excited for any questions that y'all may have.
All right, Brandon, thank you. I appreciate you being here. Anybody got any questions for Brandon?
Yeah, I was wondering, Brandon, if you are responding to the Anna Johnston letter in any way.
Yes, sir. So good to see you, Mr. Moore. I was talking to Ms. Donna just yesterday. So always a pleasure to see you. So with that letter, if y'all remember the last time I was on here, someone asked about that exact same thing. And I understand how campaigns work. Here's the bottom line. If I had done exactly what Anna Johnson said I had done as the chair of the South Carolina Democratic Party's Black Caucus, by the state party's rules, I would have immediately been vacated from my role as chair of the South Carolina Democratic Party's Black Caucus. Immediately. And John can attest to that. He understands the rules of our state party. In 2018, yes, I did help Joe Boykin, because Democrats in Charleston asked me to help. My mentor, Abe Jenkins, as well as a number of other sitting and established Democrats in Charleston, because Anna had not been serving her community in their opinion for a number of years. Then in 2022, when he was thinking about running again, he wasn't sure if he was going to run as an independent or a Democrat. He's still a member of the Sea Island Democratic Club. Colleen can speak to that. He's a board member of the Progressive Club. In 2022, all I did was set up a website, and then I helped Millicent Middleton, the Democrat that was running. Again, if I did what she said I did in that letter, I would have immediately been vacated from my seat. But here's the thing, and I think it's funny sometimes. I've won so many races in South Carolina. I'm the only candidate in this race for chair who has won races right here in South Carolina, who has won races that's gotten Black women elected to office here in South Carolina, that sometimes I get blamed for victories that I didn't have anything to do with. So, it's just a different situation altogether. But again, if I had done that, I would have been vacated from my seat.
All right. I appreciate the answer. Any other questions for Brandon?
John, I'd actually like to answer that question.
Sure.
Since I was called out a couple of times, if that'd be allowed, or if you'd rather be wait, I'll wait.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. There was an effort to remove you, Brandon, and I specifically said I felt like it wasn't warranted at the time. So I do want to make sure that's clear when you're calling me out. I said that I didn't feel like that was reason for you to be removed from the Black Caucus. I appreciate your other one. Thank you.
All right, first vice chair. I think I see 4 candidates for first vice chair on the call by the diversity rules set up by the Democratic National Committee, which the SCDP follows and the YCDP follows. First vice chair is required to be a different gender than the person elected chair. So in some ways, we will know exactly who's qualified for first vice chair until we know who's won the chair's race. That being said, we've got 4 folks who are declared candidates at this moment. We're going to go in alphabetical order, and first in alphabetical order is Colleen Condon. I'm glad to see your face. Glad to have you on the call, and you got the floor.
Good morning. Yay. Good morning, York Democrats. I'm Colleen Condon. I use they or she pronouns. What I do for a living is I'm a lawyer and a family court mediator. I've been a volunteer with South Carolina Democrats for over 30 years, and I realized I really want to commit to putting more of my time and energy outside of Charleston. I have served as chair of the Charleston Democrats, and including during the 2020 presidential primary, first in the South, and believe that the experience I gained will really help me to allow all counties across the state to learn how to maximize the resources you can draw from the first in the nation primary that's coming up. I served on Charleston County Council for 12 years. It was a red district. I was the first Democrat to win it and the last Democrat to win it, although I'm trying to help change that. I understand what it's to be an elected official, and I'm prepared to support our elected officials in the State House and otherwise. I'm the only candidate for leadership that has served as an elected official. Many of you have actually gotten to know me from my work on the State Executive Committee, the Legal Protection Team, Voter Protection, where I've answered your calls when you've been doing the hard work alongside to address problems at the polls. I've been a delegate. I see my friend Jim Thompson. We had a great time together back in 2016. Hey, Jimbo. I was one of the first folks who went specifically as an at-large LGBTQ delegate. I understand what the party needs to do, and I'm prepared to work hard to do it. I also am an activist. Many of you know that my wife, Nichols Bleckley, and Condon and I were the marriage plaintiffs for South Carolina. We took on Nikki Haley and Alan Wilson, and I think we need that kind of fire in our next first vice chair to be able to support the chair and in pushing back the BS that we're hearing from the other side. Certainly, y'all are dealing with the Freedom Caucus fools. Oh my gosh, I've spent so much time up there in the last 8 weeks lobbying for stops to some awful anti-trans bills that have been promoted, and have been working with our legislators. And y'all, well, we've got to win seats that we can work hard to win. We also have to take on some of these crazy fools. It doesn't make sense for us to spend all of our money in races that we can't win, but we absolutely need to be taking on these people and owning messages again. The caucuses were a great start. It's now time that we actually invest in our caucuses and make sure that they have the resources that when we're talking about LGBTQ rights, the LGBTQ caucus is at the table working with activists outside the party. We have to show we're going to where the activists are, whether it's for safe schools, the environment, healthcare, immigration issues. We have to be active. We all know this. We all have so much passion, but we spend so much time working on party-entered stuff versus working on the issues where we need to. And I believe that it can help provide that connectivity. I identify as LGBT. In fact, I now identify as non-binary, which means an X on my passport card and on some of my legal documents with the federal government. It does not mean it yet with the state, because South Carolina does not recognize non-binary or non-conforming. I do hope to be the first LGBTQ member of our leadership team, and know that as a result, identifying as a third gender, it means I'm actually eligible to run with any of the chairs. I personally have committed to serving with Christale Spain. I believe she's the best choice. And so I've made the decision that if Brandon is our chair, I will withdraw from the race and let other candidates serve. Obviously, if he's elected, I'd still work with him as executive council, executive committee, voter protection, and so on. I just don't feel like serving as his first vice chair is the right fit for us. I'm going to make sure we have the resources we need. I do want to remind you, we're not having to learn how to run elections. We know how to win them. We know how to do it. We just have to have the teamwork so that we're all supporting each other to make it happen. We need the resources. I have helped with countless races, local, state, national, internal, external, non-partisan races. I know how to raise money. I'm not afraid to ask for a dollar. I'm prepared to be very involved in fundraising if I get elected the first vice chair. I'm prepared to support the amazing experienced chairs like you have here in York County, as well as some other counties who have younger, less experienced chairs and need more maybe mentoring and coaching. I'm not asking for a paycheck. I'm asking to let me volunteer more across the state. So I hope you believe that I would be an addition to this role. I ask for your first vote as first vice chair. I know that there's likely to be 2 or 3 ballots. So even if you've committed to one candidate, know that there will likely be at least a second, if not even a third ballot as we work through it. My website has been posted in the chat, ColleenCondon.com. My email address is there, my phone number. I love being a Democrat, and I would like to take this next step, and I ask for your support. Thank you.
All right, Colleen, thank you. We appreciate you being here. And if anybody wonders why we do Zoom calls rather than meetings when we're inviting guests from all over the state, Colleen's not in Charleston. It's an awful lot to ask somebody to be in York County by 10 o'clock in the morning if they're starting from Charleston. So we appreciate her joining us in the digital fold. Does anyone have any questions for Colleen specifically? If you're going to have general questions for all of the candidates for this position, I would ask you to wait. But if there's any questions for Colleen specifically, you can go ahead and ask them now.
My question is, what can the party do to help support one of the most effective senators that we have in the state house, who is in part of his district is in our county, and he's up for election not this November but next November? What is the sort of thing that if you were first vice you would do to help support the reelection of Mike Fanning?
Well, thank you. Mike Fanning is definitely fighting hard for us. I saw him fighting for teachers this week. I believe we have to be out working and making sure we're doing voter registration and updating voter registration every year. We need to support Mike. I mean, wow, y'all, we have great people like Mike who are working in the state Senate, where literally it takes 2/3 of a vote to kind of override things. And we're right there. We're one short. In the state house, it's awful. We absolutely have to get in and work each county that Mike supports. And we're going to identify races like that where I'm going to do the drive. I'm going to be up there. I promise to be traveling the state. I put more miles on my car in the last month than I think in the last year, just about. And Amy, y'all are on the ground between you and John and Jimbo and so many great people. We're going to find out what you need, and we're going to figure out, is it raising the money? Is it knocking on doors? Is what support do we need to help you make sure Mike is reelected and Mike has the teammates he needs?
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Let's move on to our next alphabetical candidate for the first vice chair office. Familiar face here in York County. He's been around as third vice chair. Glad to see Jalen Elrod on the call. Jalen, floor is yours. Go ahead, man.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Good to see you.
Good to see you guys too. Good to see York County. Yeah, it's good to see, as third vice chair, I'd made my way up to York County a few times, talking to you and talking to Representative King and Senator Fanning sometime. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jalen Elrod, and I am running for first vice chair of the South Carolina Democratic Party. From being president of the Young Democrats of Greenville County to being first vice chair of the Greenville County Democratic Party to being your current third vice chair. In some way, I got 40 campaigns in at the local, congressional, gubernatorial, and presidential level. I have been on this journey, and I'm asking for your vote. Of any candidate who's running for first vice chair, I have the most endorsements from elected officials, from county party officers, even from some of our former congressmen from down there in the Low Country and some more coming along the way, even from York County. I think that is a testament to the work that we have done over the past 2 years and over the past decade that I've been involved. Even though I'm the youngest candidate who is seeking this office, I am the most experienced. I spent 2022 working across the nation to elect Democrats, specifically Democrats to the U.S. Senate, from Maryland to Delaware to Pennsylvania, Iowa, Minnesota, Arizona, Nevada, and Georgia. Definitely have been traveling across the nation, learning new ideas, seeing new perspectives, seeing new ways campaigns are ran. And I want to bring those ideas back here to South Carolina. 2020, this decade, it hasn't gone well for us. In 2020, we spent $130 million on a double-digit loss that facilitated some pretty massive losses down ballot. And in 2022, we weren't able to bounce back. I don't have to tell anybody that. I don't say that to blame anybody. I know we all don't like Monday morning quarterbacks, but we do need course correction. I'm running on a 3-pronged platform. First is county party officer training, to invest in our county party officers, to thank them, but to also make sure that they are equipped to have what they need in order to build up. Because I know we know that change doesn't come from the top down, it comes from the bottom up. We want to train our county party officers in fundraising, communication, GOTV, and give them the tools they need to really build up candidates at the local level, because I think that's how we build blue in South Carolina. Second thing that we want to do is candidate development. We have an opportunity to build up our campaigns right now in order to flip 10 state house seats next year, all the way down from the upstate all to the low country. There's some of the seats we lost last year. We can get those, but we can pick up some new ones as well, specifically Greenville 24 State House, the seat that Bruce Bannister currently runs. And I believe that if we implement this plan, if we prioritize this plan as a party, and we accomplish this goal, which is going to be fairly easy, we will get the confidence and the reputation that we need in order to build for it. In 2024, we pick up those seats. 2025, we take back the Columbia mayoral seat. In 2026, we take a great shot at an open gubernatorial seat, the first open gubernatorial seat that we have since 2010. Third part is robust fundraising. I'm the only person in this race who has been a South Carolina Democratic Party officer. Fundraising is hard, I know, but we need about $5 million in order to raise what we need for a competent, robust, coordinated campaign. What I want to do as first vice chair is have a donor summit. So we bring in donors from across the state and around the nation and show this is our plan. These are the seats that we want to target. This is going to be our priority for 2024, 2025, 2026. This is where your dollars will go. That way we will inspire confidence. We'll build the resources we need and we will push this forward. I think York County, that the choice is pretty clear. I haven't just been coming to you asking for your vote. For the past 2 years, I've been engaged with York County. I've been engaged with our rural communities. I've been engaged with all 46 counties. When I come to you today, it's not to introduce myself because you already know me. The work we're doing speaks for itself. The endorsements that we've gotten speak for themselves. I'm running on a campaign of record, not rhetoric. I don't think that anyone should look and see what we're saying. They should look and see what we have done. And I think once that happens, that choice is clear. Again, my name is Jalen Elrod. I'm running for first vice chair of the South Carolina Democratic Party, and I really look forward to your questions. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Jalen, thank you. Appreciate you joining us. Anybody have any questions for Jalen specifically?
So, Jalen, as first vice, you wouldn't travel, right? Like you would be here with us, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Just South Carolina, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Just wanted to clarify. Someone asked me that, talking about how much you had traveled before. But as first vice, we definitely need you and your talents here. But I appreciate all you've done. So thank you.
All right, let's keep going down the list. Again, Jalen, thank you for joining us. Alphabetically next for first vice chair candidates is Mary Geren, who I think is driving and cameraless. But Mary, go ahead. Floor is yours. You got 5 minutes.
Amy, I think one of the reasons Amy brought that up too is we do want our state party leaders to be focused on South Carolina races. I'm very proud of our Biden administration and what is happening nationally, and some of which Christale referenced, and that's pretty awesome. But campaigning in Arizona is not the same or trying to win elections. And Arizona is not the same as in the upstate of South Carolina, and we know that. So our commitment must be to South Carolina first and foremost. My name is Mary Geren. I know many of you because I've been around for a while too. First started as a volunteer for Hillary Clinton back in 2008 when I was a college English instructor and a mom of a 2-year-old who just turned 17 and is actually coming to convention with me as a guest. So I'm excited about that. I ran for Congress back in 2018. I was the Democratic nominee in the 3rd Congressional District against Jeff Duncan. And many of you got to know me during that race. But those who know me, you know I'm a fighter. I was born into poverty, youngest of 5, the only one in my family to even graduate high school. I was meant to be just another statistic. But through the grace of God and mentors, educators who poured into me, my dream of becoming, honestly, I didn't even dream to become a college instructor. That was just out of my realm of imagination. I just wanted to teach. And it was when I was a student at Tri-County Tech that I decided, I think I may want to teach at a school like this one day. And lo and behold, 10 years later, there I was, having taught at Clemson University for 6 years and then on to Tri-County. But at the community college level, that's where I'd always had this passion for politics since, 7th grade. I remember being one of 2 students in the class during our mock election to vote for Michael Dukakis. And people are like, why are you a Democrat? And as a poor, scrawny kid in Georgia at the time, that it was just a no-brainer. That was the only party that seemed to care about any, people like me. And so my entire adult life, I've been paying it forward as a teacher, but as a mentor. And at the community college level is, like I said, when it really just that passion was ignited to cultivate our youth, get them involved. And those of you like John Holder, Kraljevich, I don't know if you've been around quite as long as I have, Jim Thompson, you'll remember Mary always bringing, even before I ran for anything, a posse with me to convention, my students. Sometimes I even brought Republican students. I hope y'all don't hold that against me, but they just did not have a really robust college Republicans club. And they would say, hey, can we go along with you? We want to learn. And I'm like, hell yeah, come on. That's how we grow our party. And so what I will bring to the table, and yes, I am running with Brandon and the SC Forward Together slate. But my 2 main goals or 2 areas of focus are going to be recruiter in chief and fundraising. And really fundraising falls under that big umbrella of recruiter in chief. And what I mean by that is the special gift that I have. Crystal can attest to this because Lord knows we didn't have Senator Booker up here in the upstate a lot after those first few months. And we had to motivate people to care about going to debate watch parties, street fight watch parties, you name it. And we were always really successful in not only recruiting, I think most of our interns I recruited, volunteers, the fundraising even then. God's just given me this talent to, convince people to do something they never thought they'd want to do, whether that's give money, volunteer, or run for office, which has been my focus in the most recent years. So after that congressional race, I didn't give up. We had record fundraising. In the 3rd Congressional District, we raised $300,000 in 2018. And that doesn't sound like a lot compared to all the millions today, but it was pretty damn impressive. And I worked my butt off for 19 months to do that and spent every penny of it on the campaign, but did not take 1 penny from corporate donors. So you can imagine how hard that was. But doing that, the 3rd is 11 counties. So I was already touring up pretty much a good chunk of the state. And I developed relationships nationally, too, that I still have to this day with people like Senator Booker, but also Reverend Jesse Jackson, Eric Swalwell, you name it. And I have maintained those relationships. So the raising of the money is a big deal because we need a fully staffed body to help us do these things that we want to do. Our county parties need support. They need resources. Our candidates, I had 3 that I recruited in Anderson last year. And y'all, of the 39, upstate counties with state house races, only 11 were contested. 11. And 3 of those 11 were my candidates. So I am running for first vice chair as recruiter-in-chief fundraiser. I hope to see you on the 29th, and check out our website, sc4together.com. Thank you.
All right, good deal. Mary, thank you for joining the call. We appreciate it. And we got one more first vice chair candidate. So right now, the floor for 5 minutes is yours, Archie Parnell.
Thank you, John. I appreciate this. I think a lot of the folks up in this, it's very good to see so many familiar faces. I mean, as I ran for SC5 and I got the opportunity to meet you, and it was a good experience. And, I became very good friends with a number of you. And I also have to say that it's good to see that we have so many very strong candidates for this position, so many qualified candidates for this position. It's very exciting that the Democratic Party had so much interest in this and other races. I think that bodes well. So given the fact that I have run for Congress in the 5th Congressional District, and a number of you know my background, I'm not going to go over all of that, but just to let you know that I started after law school from the University of South Carolina at the Justice Department in Washington, D.C. I was then on the Democratic staff of the Ways and Means Committee in Washington. And then I went to work for a multinational company that took me overseas. And I was a tax lawyer that handled the tax work in Asia for a long time. We came back, and I retired. I actually resigned from my position to run for the 5th congressional seat because my daughters and I went to the Women's March in Washington after Trump was elected, and it was so clear to so many people that Trump was a terrible candidate, and I became politically active at that time. I asked our neighbor across the street in Sumter, South Carolina, if he would run. He was mayor of the city. He had been mayor of the city. He was a Democrat, well known. He said he wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. So he suggested that I run. I talked with Sarah, and Sarah and I decided to run. And I've been active in the political realm since that time because it's the right thing to do, and why all of us are in this room today. Since losing the races for the 5th congressional district, since then you might not know that I was chair of the Sumter County Bar Association COVID-19 committee, which provided pro bono help to folks on the COVID-19 legislation. There was a lot of legislation at a very short period coming out, very, very complicated. And I was helpful with people getting PPP loans and that sort of thing, and answering other questions. I also was on the board of the Habitat for Humanity in Sumter and treasurer of that group. And I also taught tax law at law school. So, I've been active in that way since then. What I'd like to focus on now, and you can read some things, about, I've put out some things about the various plans that I have, but one of the things that I think is very, very important for South Carolina is obviously the first in the nation Democratic presidential primary in 2024. And we have the opportunity to step up and lead America. And we have the opportunity to show the world what it really means to be Democrats, what it means to work together, how we can be united in order to work together and get things accomplished. But unfortunately, while that's a great thing that could happen, we also have the risk of falling flat. There's a lot of details in this endeavor that we as a party are about to step into, and we have to do it right. We have to consider the details. We have to take things and plan them very, very carefully. We have to think of contingency things that could happen. We have to have risk planning. We need to contact the states that have, like Iowa lost it. We could lose it if we fall. I think what I bring to this position, I raised $2 million when we were running for Congress. So that, I know about fundraising. I know about how to get staff. It's a very, very difficult thing, but I have the experience of running as a candidate. But, we don't need a first vice chair who's out to grab any headlines. And we don't need anyone that's looking for a stepping stone to a higher office. What we need is a first vice chair who cares more about doing the work than taking credit. We need somebody who's used to very long hours, late nights, early mornings. That's me. When I was working, it was very, very, very long hours. And we need to take care of the details. The first vice chair has to take care of the details so that the incoming chair can keep her eye on the prize. And obviously, as John has said earlier, I'm a man. And as a consequence, I can only run in the event that Christale or Catherine, or either one of them are elected. I support Christale. And I think that we need, very importantly, a first vice chair who can and work hand in glove with the new chair. Please consider me for first vice chair. I'm qualified given my background and my experiences. I know how to bring people together. I know how to bring diverse communities of interest together, from working in Asia, working in the United States. And I would be grateful for your vote. And like Colleen, in the event that this goes to a runoff in this first vice chair election, and it likely will, as she mentioned, I would appreciate your consideration in the second and perhaps the third vote as well. So it's good to see everyone, and I'd be pleased to answer anybody's questions.
All right. Anybody have any questions for Archie in particular? Not all the candidates, just Archie. Go ahead and unmute yourself and go ahead and ask. No? All right. Do we have any questions for all of the first vice chair candidates? All
John?
right. Yes.
Please read Colleen's comment. She just put a comment in the chat.
In the chat, Colleen has said, I need to speak on behalf of Mary Geren. She is a true blue Democrat. We do all need to be able to work together after this election. All right, good deal. Thank you all. Thanks to all the first vice chair candidates. We've got one candidate for second vice chair on the call. And I hope I pronounced your name correctly, Melina Rodelo. Did I get that okay?
You did. It was perfect. It was perfect.
Good
yes,
deal.
sir. Thank you very much.
The floor is yours. You got 5 minutes.
Thank you. Okay, so everybody, my name is Melina Rodelo. I am running for second vice chair and only that position. I am part of Brandt and Upson's slate of the South Carolina Forward Together. I've known Miss Mary for over 10 years. I am very, very fond of Erica Sampson, who's running for third vice chair. We make a very, very compatible, amazing team. Our actual positions that we've actually gotten are very specifically to our personal, collective experiences and job descriptions we've had as civilians. A little bit about me. I've actually lived in the upstate. I moved here when I was 20 years old, a very young mom. I raised my 2 children here to grow up and just be 2 National Guard Army members. My sister's actually in the reserve. She's a lieutenant, which I also raised her too. But, we've actually been a family that has always given back. I've often been asked if I've held any kind of office in any kind of Democratic county or anything, and the answer is no. The projects and the commitment to my community has never been a part of an organization. I've done it by myself. Everything I've ever done has been very, very exclusively private because of the matter that I have been able to give back to my community. Now, there have been mentions of me not having experience as far as my involvement in the county parties, anything like that, but I'll tell you it's not true. I'm just not going to put these people's identities and their private matters online. I do have a very, very private Facebook where I just recently last night shared some of the pictures of like 10, 15 years ago. But for the past 20 years, I've been working to help women open their businesses, open their substantial and successful businesses at that. I've been giving back to the community and just, being an advocate for dreamers and friends of mine that have come to this country with nothing but hopes and dreams of a better life. I've actually, continued through use my accounting degree in many, many places. I started doing accounting when I was 15 years old and started doing bookkeeping. So it was natural to me to go back to college and get the degree in something that I already was fond of, was already involved in. So while I was doing that, I was actually tutoring women to go back and get their GEDs and pursue their higher education themselves. So I've been helping make families better one at a time, a group at a time. But my contributions in social work and pretty much just being an activist, a local activist here in the Oconee and the upstate, which is the Tri-County area, the Anderson, the Pickens, and the Oconee area. and this is why I don't say much. It's because I've been helping either where it's babies and toddlers, homeless teenagers, women that have been, I hate to say it, but we've been victims of domestic violence, sexual abuse. And that's something that I don't want to put out there. It's not like you get called in for a crisis emergency and say, hey, wait, before we do this, can we take a selfie? I need to post it. So you will never hear me say those things, but I do contribute to those women. And that is why it's very, very important for me to actually, always have my red flags up. I do not like violence against women. I am very, very proactive of being a shield to my community. My financial experience, I'm able to put back and making sure that the women are financially stable so they can never have to rely on staying in a place that is unsafe for them or their children. As a matter of fact, like I said earlier, my children actually grew up to be soldiers. My son is done with his military career now, but my daughter is actively deployed. She's doing national security for the White House and is stationed where Air Force One is. And not that long ago, they actually did have a lockdown for a possible shooter on site. But let me tell you, my daughter's the one that's being called out there when there are insurrectionists. So, and are we actually completely devoted to making sure that things change? Absolutely. I have a daughter who is a woman. I care about her reproductive rights. I care about her freedom. I care about her First Amendment right. I care about her life more than the Second Amendment. That is outdated. I care about her safety even now being at the Capitol. Yes, I have been a lifelong Democrat. I will never change. Do I have the passion to do this? Yes. Do I have the credentials for second vice chair? Absolutely. And when I'm there, I actually plan to strengthen our party. One of the biggest things is just to strengthen our party, making sure that we are working with a chair. In this case, I am in Brandon Upson's slate. I'm looking forward to working with him, making sure that we're more transparent and pouring into our caucuses. Our caucuses are not led by any kind of group or little club. These are experts at their field. And I plan to get in there and actually work with them to make sure that they are substantially backed up with whatever we can. So as we move forward, and I've got 20 seconds left, please remember Melina Rodelo. It is going to be very, very important as we're going to be making history as the first Hispanic Latina in the SCDP. I plan to be a strong representation for the Hispanic women and Hispanic men and basically all our culture in South Carolina. Again, Melina Rodelo for second vice chair. Thank you, everybody. And good job, Mary.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate you being on the call. Any questions for Melina? All right, I'm going to ask a question. Actually, Melina, you talked about some great qualifications, and we all appreciate the work you've done. Have you done any campaign work, or do you have any campaign experience in particular?
The campaign experience, you know what? Back in the day, I actually met Mary Geren when she was a teacher at Tri-County Technical College, and I was the SJA president. We did a lot of working with students like voter registration. We did a lot of the college Dems at the time. I oversaw more than 30 clubs and organizations there, and part of that were the Democrats. But my indirect participation was doing that and assisting them, and then being of assistance to Mary throughout the years, whatever I could, just off the record, pretty much. It wasn't like I was a member of the executive member or anything of the Anderson County Party, but I've been there, I've done the work, actual campaigning and hitting the ground, canvassing. I've done that recently with Brandon Upson, but in the past years, like I said, my contribution has been in a different way, but I've been there, I've been helping, like I said, voters and with the young Dems, college Democrats, which would be at the Tri-County. Yes, sir.
All right, cool. I appreciate the answer. Thank you. We've got one candidate for third vice chair on the call. Also glad to see her here. Thank you for joining us. Michelle Brandt, the floor is yours. You've got 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for hanging on. As third vice chair candidate, I always go last. So I really appreciate you hanging on. John, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'm speaking to you live from Greenville, actually. So if you hear noise in the background, people are going to be walking by me. So I'm going to try to stay focused. So hi again. My name is Michelle Brandt, and I'm running for third vice chair of SCDP. A little bit about me. I'm a wife and mom. And last year, I ran for the State House in District 114. I serve as the executive committee member for the Charleston County Democrats. And I also I'm on the Environmental Justice Steering Committee for the Charleston Area Justice Ministry, or AKA KJM. They have sister organizations in Greenville and Columbia, More Justice and Gold. So as your third vice chair, I'm going to enact my 3-point platform. First, I will build a candidate support network to support all candidates. I've been a candidate and ran for office before. And so building a candidate support network is really important to me, because when I ran for the State House, it was really difficult to find the resources and information I need to first get started. So I want to create those resources for other young candidates to get started off the ground right away by creating a list of options, people who they can call to help them work on their campaigns, a list of vendors as well. In the same vein, also creating a resource that has all the Democratic-friendly organizations that endorse and support candidates as well. When I was endorsed as a candidate, I got endorsed by many different organizations. And unfortunately, some of my State House candidates, they all didn't get endorsed simply because they didn't know those organizations existed. So I want to make sure that every candidate has a chance to be the most successful they can be. The second thing I will do as your third vice chair is to increase civic engagement. Young people today, they are apathetic and uninformed about what's going on in South Carolina politics. Civics is not taught anymore in schools. So as your third vice chair, I will utilize the SCDP website and social media to create engaging content to inform young people about what's going on at the State House, what is going on at the national level, how are bills passed in South Carolina, what are the best ways to intercept those bills and get in touch with your legislators, and who are your legislators. When I was on the campaign trail last year, I talked to many people who were great people, but they were uninformed about what was going on. And guess what happened when I told them about what was going on in the State House? They got engaged, they got involved, and they showed up and they voted. And I know that we can do that on a greater level from the State House, or from the state level as your third vice chair. I've had a lot of coffee today, y'all, because I had to drive 3 hours to get here, so I'm a little But okay, so moving on. The third thing I will do as your third vice chair is to boost youth turnout and engagement. An idea that I have is to create a monthly meeting with all third vice chairs, county chairs, the College Democrats of South Carolina, and the Young Democrats of South Carolina to collaborate and work together, not only on youth voter registration, but also to get the young people out to the polls on election day. And we need to do that by engaging with young people throughout the year, not just 3 months before the election, but consistently. And we also need to strengthen our message as well. So I will work with staff and whoever is chair to get the funding we need to create effective messaging to reach young people, and to coordinate and collaborate with other counties across the state. There are some counties who are really effective about engaging people, and other counties that might need more assistance. So that's what I will do to bring everyone together. Collaboration is the key to success. And also integrating in Democratic-friendly organizations. There are a lot of progressives out there who are not a part of the Democratic Party, but they are a part of Gen Z for Change. They are a part of Moms Demand Action and other organizations, incredible organizations. So I would encourage us to be a part of those organizations, show up to their events and volunteer. We will build a stronger coalition and bring people into the fold if we all work together to turn South Carolina blue. So again, my name is Michelle Brandt. I'm running for third vice chair, and I want you to vote for me on April 29th at convention.
Michelle, thank you. Again, third vice chair is sort of the youth-oriented position on the board. That is for folks 35 and younger. Glad to have you in the race. Candidates, thank you all for joining us. We very much appreciate it. And best of luck to all of you next week. And, come hell or high water, a week from now, it'll be over and you can go on with the rest of your lives. Then go back to whatever service in whatever capacity. The next thing I've got on my agenda here, next year's YCDP convention. Things are going to be a little bit different next year. In order to get all of the county parties electing their boards in the same year, there's going to be a little bit of a realignment, which means whoever is elected chair, it won't be me, I'm not running, you can mark that down in pen. Whoever is elected chair of the YCDP next year will serve just a one-year term. And I think the discussions at the state level have basically said that the rest of the board will probably remain in service for one more year. In other words, our first, second, third vice chair and our executive committee people. And then everybody will be up for re-election in a 2025 convention. I think I have that right. John Holder's going to tell me if I have it right or not.
The executive committee has already shifted. So in 2022, Darylene and I were elected to a 3-year term.
Got it.
Or at least it got extended to 3 years.
Got it. Thank you for your willingness to serve. So be thinking now. It's not too early to start thinking about running to chair this party. Needless to say, it's a lot of work. I've served 2 terms. I will say this. Our last 2 chairs have been white dudes from Fort Mill. I'd love to see someone else. This is a diverse party. This is a diverse party in terms of gender, in terms of racial heritage, in terms of geography. This is not the Fort Mill Democratic Party, and it's certainly not the white guy with facial hair Democratic Party. So If you are interested in leadership, now is a good time. And there's all of my white guys with facial hair. Now is a good time to start attending things. Start asking, start talking to other members of the board, start figuring out what kind of workload is required, and start learning about the real work that we do. Which is to say, activism, organizing, and campaigning. That's sort of our three-prong approach here. You can't do any one of the three without doing the other two. It all matters. So if you feel like you'd like to be a leader of this party, but don't have experience in campaigns, organizing, or activism, now's the time to start stepping up, asking questions. People want to share this knowledge. This is not secret. This is not exclusive. This is your Democratic Party. So please start thinking about it. Next thing I've got on my topic, speaking of campaigning, municipal races. 2023 is a year for municipal races. In York County, all of our municipal races are nonpartisan, which means that the Democratic Party does not take an active role, or at least I should say does not take a public role, but we still take a role, and we still try to support nonpartisan candidates that we think share our ideals and further our agenda. Needless to say, winning municipal races is important for a few reasons. A, it gives our perspective on in local government, which is vital, particularly in a part of South Carolina where local governments tend to be exclusive and not very interested in heeding minority viewpoints, whether you mean minority in terms of racial minorities or just non-Republican, non-mainstream perspectives. But it's also very important for us to build our bench. And we're never going to have great candidates for state house and state senate and for other races, county council, until we have great public servants serving on boards and commissions, serving in municipal positions, things like that. That's where our future great candidates come from. So it's important to get involved in those races. For most of the municipal races, since they are nonpartisan, the filing time is much later in the year. Typically, it starts in August and ends in early September. Be thinking about that. Now, needless to say, you need to know whether or not you live in a municipality. I don't. I live in unincorporated York County. The Fort Mill mailing address, the Fort Mill zip code, none of that matters. All that matters is whether or not you live within town lines or not. So if you live in Fort Mill or Rock Hill or TGK or Clover or one of the smaller municipalities in the county, please consider it. Please consider running. By running, you will not only give a voice to our ideals and perspectives, but you'll also learn a lot that may help you as either a future volunteer or a future candidate. You will enable your friends and neighbors to learn what a campaign is like and give them an opportunity to volunteer and practice their chops. And, stranger things have happened. You might actually win. Some of these very low turnout local races can be very easily won just by engaging and running a real campaign, which means raising money, developing a message, and communicating that message effectively. This is not rocket science. When you've got a race where only 8% of the electorate is running, it's not so much about the voters picking you, it's about you picking the voters that want to come out. So, Matt, you've got your hand up. Go ahead.
Whoever runs, I got a mile-high stack of yard stakes for your yard signs. So anybody needs any help saving hundreds of dollars, I'm here for you.
Good deal. Perfect. We will take you up on that, Matt. I appreciate that. And some of those stakes have very long, very impressive provenance and have served in a number of candidates' campaigns for the last several years. So they're historic yard sign stakes at this point.
He tells no lies.
It's true. Thanks for getting Matt in my garage. So anyway, municipal races, more on that as the time comes. But even though the filing deadline won't be until August or September, please be thinking about that. The only other thing I've got on my agenda currently, we mentioned earlier, the Freedom Fund dinner for the NAACP. The county party will have a table. The NAACP is our most important local allied organization, and we will continue to support their efforts. It would be great to see a lot of YCDP faces in attendance. Bakari Sellers, I don't have to, introduce him to anybody. He's a dynamic speaker. He's always been a great supporter of this party and the state party. It's great to hear Bakari speak anytime. The food's always awesome. The company's always awesome. It's a good time. And a lot of these banquets and dinners, frankly, are awful. Freedom Fund's always a really good banquet. So we encourage you all to support the NAACP, not only by buying a ticket, but actually attending, and you might make some new friends there as well. In terms of other events coming up, the Rock Hill Pride Festival will be coming up here before too long. We have been participants at the past two Rock Hill Pride Festivals. The first one actually was our greatest single day voter registration effort ever. And I think that, come hell or high water, we'll be there registering voters. That's a great opportunity for us to meet folks who are not only allied with our ideals, but in many cases are young and feel excluded from political processes. So we'll be out there registering voters for sure. The YCDP board will vote on our level of commitment to Pride, but just as a general sense, does everyone support having a booth, being active, people are willing to volunteer again, that sort of thing? Any comments or questions on that? All right, good. When the first Pride happened, there were some assurances made that Pride would be made into a nonprofit event. That has not happened, which is a little disappointing to me. That would make it a little bit easier for us to support them at a greater level. I hope that happens someday. I certainly understand why it hasn't happened, but hopefully we will get there at some point too. So I guess that's all I've got on my agenda. Gary Pierce, our volunteer and AV Maven extraordinaire, has put the link for our YouTube channel in the chat. Check that out. Gary hosts our podcast online show sort of thing. We appreciate that effort. He does a really, really good job with it. High production value, good guests, interesting questions. Gary's really, really good at this stuff. So check that out. Share the link. Get it out there. Let's get some more followers for the YouTube page. And aside from that, Jalen, again, thank you. Melina, again, thank you for all of our candidates who were in attendance. We appreciate your comments. My agenda's done. If nobody else has anything to add or ask.
I do have something I would like to ask.
Gary, go ahead. Yes, please.
Because I'm not as plugged into all of this as I'd like to be. Who gets to vote for all these candidates, and where and how does that happen?
Okay, so yeah, that's a good question. I probably should have touched on that earlier. So these candidates will be elected at next week's South Carolina Democratic Party Convention, which will be in Columbia at one of the buildings at the South Carolina State Fairgrounds. The convention is open to all, but only delegates will be allowed to vote. And our York County delegates were chosen at last year's county convention. We have a list of alternates that we approved earlier in the meeting. And those alternates, as elected delegates, either don't show up or give their regrets or aren't there on time. Those alternates will be elevated one by one by your chair, by me, to serve as voting members. And my hope is that we have enough folks to show up to fill our full voting allotment of 93 delegates. And that body, the voting delegates to the SCDP Convention, will be electing our next chair, first, second, and third vice chairs. All right. Anything else? Was there a motion to adjourn here? It's 11:30 now. I appreciate y'all spending your Sunday or your Saturday morning with me.
Yes, I'll make that motion again.
I'll second it.
All right. Anybody opposed? All right. Good deal. Let's call this one done. I appreciate you all joining us on a Saturday morning. And for those of you that are attending the convention, we'll see you next week.
And that is it for this episode of the York County Democratic Party YCDP TV podcast YouTube show, whatever we're calling it today. We'll see you next time. It's not regularly scheduled. Get them out as often as I can. Not as often as I'd like to right now, but we'll try for a little bit better frequency in the near future. And we'll see you whenever the next one comes up. I'm Gary Pierce. Over and out.